Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Welcome to day 6 of the 12 cast ons this year. Day 6. Part of me thinks, how are we on day 6 already? And another part of me is like, why are we only on day 6? And I think that second part is because usually by now it's the 11th of January as I'm recording this. My cast ons would have been done and dusted and I will be launching into actually working on them and trying to progress them. But obviously I started my cast ons later this year and then I had to take a break because silly sickness, and yeah, here we are, day 6. It's a very rainy day here in South Wales today, so if you can hear any background noise then it's probably just the rain pelting down on the roof. I'm up in my attic room, my craft space, and yeah, we're just up in the gods and the rain on the roof, it's just insane sometimes. So yeah, I hope the camera doesn't pick up too much of that, but if you do hear any extra noise in the background, it's just weather. Okay, without further ado and further waffle, I am looking forward to seeing what day 6 has in mind for me. My ideal day would be, let's try and manifest this. I'm going to roll the dice. It's going to give me a nice vanilla sock project. Then I'm going to go downstairs and edit yesterday's video and get that uploaded, and that's all going to go nice and smoothly. And by the time that's done, the rain will have passed, there will be a break in the clouds and a little bit of sunshine, and I can go down to the beach to cast on. Let's see if that happens. I'm not holding my breath. Let's roll the dice and see if we even can get number 1 on that little dream list ticked off. Okay, so the dice has in store for us number 18, and again, I don't know what the project is. However, I do have a feeling it might be something that's going to require a bit of thought or a bit of input from me today, because I kind of remember when I set out my prompts, I think a lot of the lower numbers were specific projects, and then a lot of the higher numbers where things are a bit more general or a bit more random, so we shall see. We have a snowflake. Okay, let us reveal together. I'm putting that one out of the way so I can't see. Oh, self-destructing yarn. That is going to be fun. Okay, let's go and grab the basket. Before we get on to self-destructing yarn, first off, I'm wearing my love note today, which I'm sure many of you will already have spotted and recognised this pattern. It's been everywhere the last few years. I absolutely love mine. And also, you might have noticed from the last clip to this, I've popped a hat on. And that is only because it's such lovely rain out there, and I have not been outside for the last few days, and I'm probably not going to be going out if the weather stays like this, just because I'm still suffering with the lurgy. But I've opened the window because I just want fresh air, but I'm also just trying to protect my ears because they're still quite blocked and a little bit infected. So yeah, I hope you don't mind the randomness. That is the beginning of this video. Do you expect anything else? Right, back to the point, cast on self-destructing yarn. If you have been following the channel for a while, you will maybe remember that last year I started a sort of de-stash kind of project where I want to try and get my yarn and my fibre stash a little bit more under control and a little bit more reflective of who I am as a knitter right now, rather than you know, who I was as a knitter when I collected the yarns over the last sort of 10 years or so. And I do have some videos chatting about that up on the channel, so perhaps I'll try and remember to link the playlist somewhere. But as part of that little project, and it's still ongoing, it's going to take me a couple of years to work towards where I want to be, but as part of that project I went through my entire stash and had a look at what yarns I've got, what I wanted to keep, what I wanted to de-stash, and I had a little miscellaneous category of yarns of things that I wasn't quite ready to de-stash to send out to a new home, but also I didn't have specific projects in mind for them. I gathered them all into a little basket, and I promised myself that if in a year from when I posted that video I had not used these yarns, I would de-stash them. I'm happy to say I think I've used at least 2 quantities of yarn from this basket, but time is marching on, as it does, and I've still got quite a lot of yarn left in here that is kind of tempting me to cast it on, but I'm not sure what I want to do. So the idea behind this prompt was to get me to pick something out of this basket to cast on. So plenty of food for thought. I'm not going to go through all of the yarns today. If you want to know what was in the basket, what is in the basket, then again I would say hop back and just quickly watch that destructing yarn video. That will explain all. For the purpose of today's video, I think I can see 3 quantities of yarn that are really speaking to me today, and there are 3 in here that aren't so much sort of calling to me. So I'm going to remove the 3 that aren't calling to me, particularly at this moment. I think I've worked with a bit of orange in the last few days for the cast-ons, so I'm going to discount those. And this is a beautiful, beautiful skein of yarn from Yantan Tetherer, but I'm not sure what I want to do with that, and nothing is kind of springing to mind. It's not speaking to me today in this moment. So I'm going to put those to one side, and then I'm going to think about what's left in the basket and try and come up with a project for one of those quantities. So I have one sort of skeiner which is this beautiful indie dyed yarn from Mr. B, and it's the Fallen Hard colourway. It's a lovely grey base with lots of beautiful fun colour speckles. And I could of course make that sock dream come true by casting on a pair of socks with this. However, if you have again followed me for a while, you'll know that although I do knit socks with indie dyed yarn and will continue to do so, my preference now is for a slightly harder wearing yarn. Like a lot of these indie dyed yarns are merino, and because I'm quite hard on my socks, I wear them all year round in my boots, sort of just around the house without any slippers or shoes on or anything. I'm very, very hard on my socks, and I've found that the indie dyed socks don't hold up to the way that I wear them as much as the commercial socks do, and therefore I tend to gravitate towards wearing my indie dyed socks less. So I'm trying to knit less of them because they get used less, if that makes any sense. That was a whole ramble. I love this colourway though, and I really don't want to destash it, but I kind of do have an idea for this, and that I could use it in another project that might come up in a future cast on video, depending on what the dice decides. So I think I'm going to, as much as I really, really want to cast on with this, I think I am going to put this one to the side as well. And then I have two skein batches that kind of go together. I've got this beautiful Mendip yarn from Marina Skewer, and this is a DK weight, I believe. Yes, DK weight, and it's a beautiful British wool, and it's actually, I know Marina sources the fibre that she gets spun up from a farm that's relatively close across the border to me, Fernhill Farm in Somerset. I purchased these from Wonderwool a good few years ago, before the pandemic. We had a few virtual Wonderwools. It was before the virtual Wonderwools for sure, with the idea of maybe making a colourwork hat or some mitts with these. So I'm still very attracted to that idea. I think this is a really striking colour combination, and I would definitely love to cast these on today. So this is possibility number 1. And then possibility number 2 is also another Wonderwool purchase, and it's 2 skeins of Wensleydale yarn from River Knits. And Wensleydale is one of my absolute favourite ever fibres. It's slightly more toothy, like slightly rougher to the hand than a merino or something like that, but I just love this fibre. I've had a love affair with this pretty much since I got back into knitting proper. Purchased this from River Knits when they launched this yarn. Again, I think it was a Wonderwool before the pandemic, so quite a few years ago now. And I just have never cast it on, but I've got this beautiful skein of grey and a beautiful skein of orange, and I bought 2 skeins with the thought that maybe they could go into a nice big squishy shawl or something like that. So yes, these 2 quantities are calling to me today, and I think I just need to go for a little bit of a pattern dive. I might have a flick through some of my pattern books and magazines again, because I tend to kind of overlook and ignore those a little bit. See what I can find. I'll also have a look in my Ravelry library if I can't find anything in my books, and yeah, just see what I can find that might use either of these quantities, and that will be the deciding factor. It's not going to make too much difference because I'll have already cast on by the time you see this project, but if you have a preference, yeah, just yell at the screen now. Let me know. can't quite believe how quickly today is marching on. I've just spent a lovely hour, maybe more time than I care to admit, upstairs listening to the rainstorm and looking through my pattern books, and it's now 2:30 in the afternoon and I'm just sitting down for my lunch. For anyone who's curious, I've got a homemade potato and chickpea curry with some brown rice, and I always boil an egg. I don't know why. When I have a lunchtime vegetable curry, I always pop a boiled egg in there. Anyway, while I'm waiting for that to cool down and be ready to eat, I can chat to you about the project that I've found. And I am in fact going to be casting on with the Marina Skewer DK yarn. I found a pattern pretty much straight away for the Rivennets Wensleydale, a lovely shawl pattern. And right up until the last minute, I felt sure that was what was going to go on the needles today. And then I was just having a flick through this issue of Making Magazine, which is the Flora issue. And coincidentally, the hat that I'm wearing today, which is the violet cap, was also in this issue of Making. I came across this pattern and I remember loving it when I first bought this issue. This issue is several years old now, so I'm sure most of these patterns are going to be available to purchase individually. But I have always had a fancy to knit the Wildflowers cap from this issue, which is a pattern by Mary Jane Muckleston. Hopefully the camera focused in on that, I couldn't see what was going on. Wound up my yarn and I'm going to be casting on. This hat I think calls for a worsted weight yarn, and I've got a DK weight yarn, but you know, worsted DK is practically the same thing, right? So hopefully it will all work out. So my yarns are wound up, I'm ready to go, more or less. I did make a little bit of a rookie error when I took the label off of this yarn, and yeah, I'd like to blame my fuzzy head, but it's just me being careless. I ended up snipping through the yarn. So I've got a few... Geez, another doorbell interruption. It's one of those days, as I said, maybe on yesterday's vlog, the very end. So yeah, I've ended up with 3 balls of like small quantities and a larger ball, but that'll be fine, it'll be fine. My plan is to make this the main colour of the hat, and then to have some lovely bright purple flowers. So hopefully it's going to be a good project. Reason in the end that I think I veered towards this rather than the Wensleydale is, as much as I do want to work with and cast that yarn on, I've already cast on a shawl in the 12 cast ons, and I've also started 3 sweaters, so those are slightly bigger projects, so I thought it'd be quite nice to break things up with a smaller project. I mean, who knows what's going to come next though, right? I could end up with the next 6 projects being really small projects too, but that won't do any harm, because not only have I started 3 sweaters this year, I think I've got at least 3, if not more, sweaters already on the needles, so I've got plenty of big projects to work on. I'm very intrigued about this parcel that has arrived, because I'm not expecting anything, but the name on the back tells me that it's something from one of our community members, so I might just open that up on camera in a minute. But I'm going to prolong my suspense and intrigue and eat my lunch before that gets cold, and then yeah, I think we'll come back and open that on camera. I'm intrigued. I was not expecting anything, so I won't say this person's name because they've sent me things before and said no need to mention me on the podcast, so I won't say anything, but yeah, I am intrigued. Lunch has been consumed. I'm feeling a bit better for having some food. It's quite a late lunch for me today, so time to open this package. I have split the top of the envelope so I don't have to fiddle around with that on camera, but I haven't peeked inside, so let's see. I'm going to feel around to see if there's a note or anything. Can't see anything obvious. Oh my, oh there is a note, there is a note. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Wow. Isn't that just the coolest thing you have seen? I shouldn't do these unboxings, surprise thingies on camera because, wow, there is some hand spun in this, some texture, and it's been beautifully, beautifully woven. Oh my goodness. thank you to the person who sent this to me. I absolutely love it. Now I'm gonna turn the camera off and have myself a few tears. Okay, back and I'm composed again. This kind of weaving is exactly why I wanted to start rigid heddle weaving in the first place, and I've just been never brave enough to do it. This beautiful sort of like free, arty kind of weaving style. So yeah, I'm going to keep this on until I get too warm inside and have to take it off. So thank you so much once again. I'm not going to say your name just in case, but you know who you are. Today hasn't been the day that I was trying to manifest earlier. Haven't had my walk on the beach and some sunshine, but I have had a lovely cosy day. Enjoying looking through my yarn pattern books, dreaming about future plans and cast-ons, listening to the rain, receiving an amazing handmade gift that I just was not expecting. So this might not have been the day that I dreamed of, but I think the universe has sent me the day that I needed. I'm now going to get casting on my project. I think I'm going to alternate this afternoon between knitting, a bit of reading, watching some rubbish TV, you know, just having a nice relaxing afternoon. And maybe that will help shift the last of this earache. As much as I don't want another day inside, maybe it's, as I say, what I need. I've been having such a lovely cosy afternoon. I totally forgot that I hadn't actually edited and uploaded yesterday's video yet, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so my hat brim is coming along nicely and I'm now at the laptop for a bit. Welcome to my Thursday, and I am excited to share with you the progress that I made on my hat cast on from yesterday. But of course, as always, before I do that, I'm going to be drinking my hot lemon and sharing with you all of the lovely projects that have been cast on in the last couple of days by our wonderful community members. Oh no, that's the wrong list. I was about to read you the same list that I read yesterday. I've got, I keep notes for myself as we go along, and I had the wrong side of the paper showing. So Dee has cast on and frogged a scarf. I think that has happened to quite a few people, so you are not alone, Dee. Dee's also started some Let's Stay Home socks, some Romby mitts, and my favourite blanket using some leftovers. And Dee said their next cast on will be a wrap. So that sounds like an amazing different array of projects to keep you company, Dee. Christy has cast on and finished a smiley scarf. There's quite a few finishes, which is just putting me to shame, isn't it? My projects, you know, probably won't get finished for years. Oh well. Christy has also started some socks and 2 spin projects. So she has been playing with some bats and also some Rolags. Christy said she's recently got a new drum carder, so she's been experimenting with that, which is wonderful. Pamela has cast on some Wherever It Points mitts, and Pamela said that it's a pattern on Ravelry that has very few projects attached to it, so it's always exciting to find a hidden gem on Ravelry. Erin has started some socks, but she said she has misplaced them. They're somewhere in the house and she doesn't know where. Completely relates to that feeling, Erin, you are not alone. So instead of working on the socks, she's also started some dishcloths. Susan has started some Aslaug mitts. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. Aslaug, which is a pattern by Skeyndir. 2 cardigans, a mitre square blanket and some vanilla socks. So that's a wonderful array of cast on, Susan. Thank you for joining the cast on party. Deb has started her next charity sweater, which is a Hearthstone. And Deb you might remember, has been casting on lots of hats and sweaters for children for donation, which is super inspiring. Nina from the This Old Knits podcast said that she's going to jump in and has plans to work from stash to cast on a salty air tea, a So Faded sweater, but she plans to make a one colour, so she just use a So Faded pattern but to knit all in one colour rather than to do the actual sort of fade. Some Valentine socks and a Frozen Fractals sweater. And I should say actually, because when I know that folks have a podcast or a channel here on YouTube, I will happily shout out that channel and give a link, but because we've had quite a few new members, if I mention your cast on and your name and you've got a channel and I'm not mentioning your channel, just let me know in the next time you comment, because I'll happily link to your channel and give you a shout out too. Angie has started a slip stitch blanket and has started a pair of socks on some 9-inch circulars, which is a new way of working socks. So I hope that goes well for you, Angie. Alexandra has started her third cast on, which is a marshland sweater. Anne has started a Cargill jumper, but she also frogged the Cargill jumper. So another one where the yarn pattern just weren't mixing as well as you imagine they might be. So yeah, better to frog and find the right pairing than to carry on and end up with something that you're not happy with. And did I say Anne is Anne from the No Excuses Knitting podcast, so I shall link that below. Mary has started a descent cowl, and Mary also said that she was working on her cast on past midnight, so lots of people have mentioned yesterday, after I said about how addicting colour work was, that they've also been staying up later to just knit one more row on their colour work projects. So yeah, I hope you managed to get some sleep, Mary, and your knitting didn't distract you too much. And then last but not least, Jane has started a barn door cowl, which is a pattern by Louise Tilbrook. There was also some lovely comments about the whips that people are working on, and Robin mentioned that she's been taking her knitting into the office to make some progress on some of her works in progress, so that made me chuckle. And yeah, just lots of knitting activity and lovely interaction in the comment section below, so thank you so much to everyone who has been taking the time to comment. I did also get a question about how I manage my needles with so many cast-ons, and what I do if I have several projects that are using the same size needles. And I have answered that in the comments. It might be worth just also chatting about that here, because there might be other people that would be curious about that. I have been knitting for probably well over 10 years. Well, I've been knitting for longer than 10 years, but I've been seriously back into knitting for well over 10 years now. And over time, I've collected a variety of different needles. Sometimes, you know, you think you can't find your needle and you buy a new one in that size and then the other one turns up. There have been times where I've wanted to try out new brands, and I've also got a couple of interchangeable sets, and just over time I've collected quite a few needles. I've got quite a few in my sort of tools, my stash of knitting tools. However, I also use interchangeable needles quite a lot. So if I end up at a point where I don't have the right size needles for a project that I want to cast on, then I will happily just borrow them from another project. And if you've followed along for a while, you'll know that I try to be quite meticulous about leaving notes for myself in my project bags about where I am with the projects, because it could be quite some time before I sort of go back to any given project once I put it down. So if I do borrow needles, then I put a little note on whatever pattern or piece of paper is in my project bag to say where those needles have gone, so what project I'm using them on. So if ever I go back to a project bag and the needles are missing, then I should be able to locate them fairly easily. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions and gives you a little bit of an idea about how I manage the needle situation with so many works in progress on the go. Okay, so time to share the progress that I made on the wildflowers cap yesterday. I think I could have really motored on with this project and almost got it to the point where I finished it if I'd really wanted to, but I decided to have a slower evening and to take my time with the project. So I have only got a few rows into the colour work, but I definitely had more time to knit than I actually knit yesterday. However, I'm also trying to take things a little bit easy. As I say, I want to enjoy these projects rather than sort of feel like I'm going to race through them. The idea is not to, you know, make as many projects as I can. It is to use these yarns and patterns that I have been wanting to get onto the needles for quite some time and just enjoy that process. And I've been feeling still very tired. I can't shift the last of this silly ear infection. So yeah, I knit a few rows in the colour work and then I put my knitting down for the evening. I have started the colour work section of this hat, so it gives a good idea of how these colours are going to play together. I think this is going to be a really fun hat to wear. Part of me is hoping or wondering whether I'll have enough left to do some sort of reverse, maybe a matching hat even in the reverse colours, so with the purple with the bright green flowers, because I think that would be really fun too, but we'll have to see. I'm getting ahead of myself here. I can't be thinking about casting on extra projects when I haven't finished my 12 cast ons yet. So yes, these sort of big loops here are the bottom of those big sort of bold flowers, if you remember the pattern from when I held up the book yesterday. So I've just got into the main part of the colour work, and I think I'm about a third, maybe a quarter. I think I'm about a quarter of the way through the colour work chart. You know, the joy of knitting on thicker yarn with bigger needles and a slightly shorter row is that, you know, quite a lot of progress can be made. This yarn from Marina is absolutely gorgeous to work with, and I don't think I mentioned yesterday that Marina has a channel here on YouTube too, so I shall link that below. And Marina shares lots of videos about her making and her yarn company. So yeah, please, if that sounds of interest to you, please do go and check out Marina's channel too. I'm not sure if she does this exact base anymore. I think recently I remember her saying that one of her bases had changed slightly. She's just come back from maternity leave, and I think, yeah, she's refreshing and changing some things. So I'm not sure if this exact yarn and these colours will be available, but she will have a lovely range of yarns for you to choose from if you fancy treating yourself to some lovely British wool. I've decided to keep this project in a lovely bag that was a gift from one of our community members, Sylvia, and Sylvia sent me this. It's got some cute gnomes on it in the garden, and it was the sort of flower motif that made me pick this one out for the flower hat. I thought that was a perfect combination, and my pattern magazine doesn't quite fit in there, but can hang out like that and it'll be absolutely fine. It keeps everything dust free and away from the cat. Right, so there we have it. We have come to the end of day 6 of our cast ons. I'm going to sign off now, and I'm about to roll the dice to see what I shall be working on today. So I hope you will join me for the next video. Please do continue to let me know in the comments below what you're working on, what you've been casting on. Until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.